This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. And when it comes to the coronavirus, we're starting to get a glimmer of good news coming out of China. Honda resumed production yesterday, including at its plant in Wuhan, which was the epicenter of the outbreak. Volkswagen's CEO, Herbert Diess, says VW could still have a decent year in China. He's predicting sales will largely recover, with the drop for the year coming in somewhere between 3% and 15%. But in Europe, it's a different story. Lamborghini closed its plant in Italy, while FCA is keeping its factories in Italy open, including one where a worker tested positive for the virus. It's telling its salaried employees to work from home, including those in the U.S. FCA is keeping its U.S. plants open, even though a line worker at the transmission plant in Kokomo, Indiana, tested positive. Workers who were located near him and other people who may have been in contact with him have been placed in quarantine. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reports that Ford will probably be forced to cut its dividend to preserve cash due to the downturn caused by the virus. And that would really hurt the company's stock, which has already taken a beating. It closed at only $5.35 yesterday. Up to now, Ford stock was an attractive investment because of its strong dividend yield of about 6%. Investors were confident the company would maintain its dividend because the belief is the Ford family relies on that dividend income and would not let the company cut it. Ford pays out about $2.4 billion in dividends every year, and analysts were predicting it would have to cut it even before the coronavirus hit. While most of the sports world has postponed or canceled games due to the coronavirus in the U.S., there will be a few events for fans to watch this weekend. IndyCar will race at St. Petersburg, but with no spectators in the stands. However, the race at Long Beach in April has been canceled. NASCAR will also hold races for the next 2 weeks without fans in Atlanta and Homestead. But not all series will continue to race. Formula One canceled this weekend's Australian Grand Prix after a McLaren team member tested positive for the virus, and IMSA has postponed next week's 12 Hours of Sebring until November. EV startup Bollinger Motors unveiled its customizable e-chassis, which is the same platform it's using for its B1 SUV and B2 pickup. The company claims it's the world's first and only Class 3 electric platform and was developed for commercial use. The e-chassis is available in front, rear, or all-wheel drive configurations and with or without portal gear hubs. It features a 120 kilowatt-hour battery pack and has the option for a 180 kilowatt pack for longer range. Payload is 5,000 pounds. The company will begin manufacturing the patent-pending chassis along with its B1 and B2 models in 2021. It'll also be used in future models developed by Bollinger. Volkswagen has a practical application for augmented reality technology. It's using AR goggles at its U.S. factory in Tennessee to help design future production lines. The plant is currently ramping up production of the Atlas Cross Sport and preparing for electric vehicles in 2022. VW says designers can look at individual parts, spot potential issues, and see how existing and future equipment interact together. It also allows them to see how things will fit together in a real environment, which can be done with the current methods of virtual planning and software design. Rolls-Royce is coming out with a limited edition model based on the Dawn. They're calling it the Dawn Silver Bullet Collection, and it's inspired by roadsters from the 1920s. Rolls says the vehicle is an ode to decadence, to frivolity, to heady heydays and irreverent pastimes. Yeah, for the 1%, I guess. The company didn't share too many details about the two-seater, and it's only going to make 50 of them, which means they are not going to be cheap. They didn't announce anything about pricing, but the standard Dawn starts around $350,000, so this version will likely be well north of that.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires. Your journey, our passion.
There's a big focus to reduce tailpipe emissions, but one testing company says we should also be worried about brake and tire wear. Emissions Analytics performed initial tire wear testing on a popular European family hatchback, but didn't say which one, and it was using new and properly inflated tires. It found that the vehicle emitted 5.8 grams of what they call NEE, or non-exhaust emissions, and it emitted that per kilometer. By comparison, the limit for exhaust particulates is 4.5 milligrams, not grams. And while there are rules and regulations for exhaust emissions, there are none for tire and brake wear. Researchers say NEE would be even higher if the vehicle did not have properly inflated tires, if it had cheap tires, or it drove over uneven roads. Emission Analytics also notes that the growing popularity of heavy SUVs and battery electrics are going to have an impact as well. I spent the last week test driving the Volkswagen Atlas, and while it's a solid vehicle that performs well, there's really nothing about this large CUV that stood out in my mind. Its styling, both inside and out, is conservative and nondescript. The interior features fake wood trim made of plastic that seems to be VW's interpretation of what American buyers wanted back in the 1970s. Though one feature I truly did appreciate was the backup camera, which is large and has great resolution. Under the hood, the 3.6-liter V6 provides plenty of get up and go, but it only delivers 19 miles to the gallon. By comparison, an Acura MDX with a 3.5-liter V6 and all-wheel drive delivers 22 mpgs. A Hyundai Palisade delivers 21. And I was surprised by the sticker price on the Atlas SEL Premium that I drove, $50,320. And yet, despite everything I've said, VW really connected with consumers. Last year, it sold over 81,000 Atlases in the U.S. market, which is a pretty good number for Volkswagen. And sales are the best measure of how the market perceives any vehicle. Anyway, that wraps up today's show. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and we will be back here again on Monday.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.